purpose, work begun. Co-author of a movement, not-for-profits game, teaching kids that self-belief can ease the pain. Every child deserves to face their fears with measured thinking, not just tears. She's planting seeds of...
For that, we're here.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm excited about the topic because it's really good, because it's a continuation of what we were doing last time, which was talking predominantly about the news and what children see constantly on their phones and gadgets, and just how much information they take on board from...
Keep talking. Someone's at my door. Keep talking.
Okay. So consequently, we were very aware that we all agreed that, we have to try and be mindful of how much goes in and at what time it goes in and all these sorts of things. So I came up with there's many different counselling suggestions in terms of not just parenting children, but parenting and being mindful of how we handle children. So we should always be consistent. So if we say, bedtime is X, or you don't get to watch that, or it can't be dad says I can and mum says I can't. It has to be consistent. So consistency is really important in relationship for the child. Giving comfort. So if a child hurts itself, or if a child is unhappy or crying or upset about something, never ever scold them for crying, because crying is an absolutely natural reaction to something happening to them that makes them want to cry, and that crying becomes a release for the pain. So comfort is really important, and it should come from both parents, or if there's only one parent, if there's whatever, 2 men, 2 women, or a normal, like where we call normal, dare I say it, husband and wife, team. But, it's just, it doesn't really matter where the comfort comes from, but it should always be there. And so consistency and comfort. Remaining calm. I am the world's worst at this. So I can't say with my hand on my heart that my reactions are always that of a calm person. I might be somebody who is a little bit likely to fly off the handle, or overreact, or want to go to war when maybe it just requires a phone call. I can be, especially where my son's concerned, not calm. So being calm within the relationship means that we are able to calm each other down, calm the situation down, calm our response down. So being calm is key. Giving consequences. So if you have a timeout chair, I remember the timeout step, and I remember, the naughty step, as we called it, or, whether it's you can't go out tonight because X, you're grounded, and all this sort of stuff. If you use those words, you're grounded, and that means you can't go out on Friday, and it's a girl, let's just put this, because I know me. Mum would have said, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. I'd have gone to my dad and gone, please, can I please? And my dad would have gone, oh, I'll talk to you, Mum. I could work on him to work on her, sort of thing. So you can always use, you can be manipulated, is what I'm trying to say, as parents. So if there are consequences for something that's happened, then you have to learn to stand by those consequences. Otherwise, they have no value. So the next time you say, you're grounded, you're not going out this week, and the kid goes, that's what you think, wait till I talk to dad, I'll sort that out, he'll calm her down, I'll get my way. That consequence thing must be something that you both stick to and stay together, united on. And counselling, I've written, counselling doesn't mean calling somebody like a therapist or somebody. Counselling means you as a parent give good counsel. So, you have the time to sit down and talk to your child and sort of in a manner where they feel very, very listened to. And that's all kids really want, is to be heard. And if they feel like they're being heard, then they'll get the sort of responses you want. And then we work out very quickly that that response is more important than actually the conversation. It's just having that one-on-one time, or even two-on-one time if it's both parents and one child. Please just take those few minutes to what I could give good counsel, give them good reasoning, give them good understanding of, you could buy that piece of Lego, and if you really wanted it and spend your birthday money on it, you can, but you have got like 5 bits upstairs you haven't made yet. So maybe make them first, because by the time you finish them, you might have gone off Lego and you won't want to spend your money on that, rather than go straight into the go and buy another piece to make up the box set, that you haven't made. So it's about giving them reason. And if I can just, humour me for a moment, Jack and Water, you can see everywhere around you. Jack is the subconscious mind. So let's not go away from that. The books are written in a way that is very much a psychology based book. So Jack was always the subconscious mind, the mind that is a bit erratic, a bit crazy, a bit way, bit rushing, a bit will tell itself things that aren't true because it's what you do. You repeat things you hear to yourself, and it can be very, very difficult and dangerous place to be. The conscious mind is your thinking mind, your mind that says, now hang on a minute, let's reason this through, let's work this out, let's, why would crossing the road be dangerous? Because we've done it a million times before. So why is it dangerous? Well, you think it's dangerous because so-and-so got run over, but that happened to them. They weren't looking where they were going. You've crossed the road a million times, you'll be fine. Yes, but I have to cross the road at school. Yeah, I know you. This is what happens with Jack and Water. Jack will be going, I don't want to cross the road. I want to go to school. I'm scared. Water has to try and explain to Jack that, hey, remember, we've done this a million times before. And this is the little conversation that goes on inside our heads. And it happens all of the time. And just before we, get into it all and introduce some of the things I want to talk about, I just want to say that naming these characters, Jack and Water, it was very purposeful because it brings it to life, the reasoning. Bringing reasoning to life is one of the most wonderful tools we've been told for parents, for teachers, for kids themselves, because they can understand it. They can actually see when it happens that, I get you, yeah. See what's happening there. Jack's trying to win, but Water came in to save the day. And this is the stuff that actually happens on a daily basis. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to ask Annie if there's anybody who's making any comments, anybody who's here. Am I talking to
You're
myself?
all alone. You're all alone. I'm
All
lying.
alone. I was in the other room.
No, yes, you were. No, let's leave that alone for. Let's leave that alone. Okay, let me find my tab of the event. Kelly, welcome. Kelly says, of course they do. What we hear is greatly influenced by our life experiences, and children have very few to integrate into their thought processes. No, I agree. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
I think. I mean, there's many reasons. There's one disease I see. Are you on screen? So one disease I see, I call it disease because my son has a bad habit of having an AirPod in his ear, and I'm like, take it out. So they have partial hearing in it. They're distracted by everything. You say, no, that's part of the picture. You think they're listening to you, but they're thinking something else. So no, it's crazy, right? And their mind is just somewhere else.
One of the reasons that people procrastinate now, they're saying that procrastination has gone through the roof, is because of the AirPods or earbuds, whatever you want to call them. So basically, when you've got something like music or something playing in your ears, it's a distraction. You're happily singing away, and a part of your mind is very happily at the disco, right? Having a great.
This us trying to talk to them at the same time.
And then you've got the teacher or somebody trying to come have a conversation with them, or your parent, and they're away, they're at the disco, or they're doing their thing, having their own personal thoughts or whatever. And it's really, really hard to get through to kids who are doing that. So absolutely, that's a perfect example of why. I mean, they're a good thing and they're a bad thing. They're great if the kid wants to use them for learning tools. They're not so good if they're using them to lose themselves, because part of the AirPod thing, part of isolation, COVID gave us isolation. It taught us something, that actually we can live in isolation and be normal, and it not be the end of the world. And so, as a consequence, what that means is for us that we are now in the position where we say, oh, well, it's okay to spend X amount of hours in your room. Well, it isn't. If you've got a family, be part of the family. Don't just come down, eat, leave your plate, off you go. Unless you're studying. If you're studying, fair play. But if you're part of the family or you're not, and the choice is, if you're coming down to sit at the table and you've got one of the things in your ears, if you're sitting at the dinner table with me, you can expect to find it in your drink.
That's a
Created this
question. Do we address the AirPod, or do we ignore it? I address it.
It has to be addressed, because they are taking themselves into an isolated place, which is not part of your family. And you need to have that counselling, that having that conversation can only happen if they're giving you their time
Attention,
and their attention. And if they're listening, they're away at the Foo Fighters concert.
They're just not present. They're not present fully.
And
so
we're hearing
nothing you say
all the time, we're hearing that by so many people say that children are the most isolated they've ever been. They may have friends, but are those friends are the people they speak to online? They've never met them and they don't know them. They call them their friends. And the friends they play games with, the people they chat to, on a regular basis, but they're not their friends. They're not real humans that they know. They are people that
they're humans.
They are, but they're not humans in the no. A human is a body. A human is a thing, is a person. And a voice down a phone, a voice down a gadget it could be anybody.
Paulette,
we mustn't assume. I mean, take Ben when he was younger. He was on Roblox, and my foster brother came in. He was a policeman, and he was working on the paedophile and drug. It was horrible. It was a really worst time, I think, for him, in terms of what he was doing. And he saw more men's backsides than I can care to tell you, he told me. But the thing what he hated most was the fact that there were so many people who were, talking to people on Roblox who they thought were 8, 10, 14-year-old friends, and they were 50, 60, whatever it is, year old men. I mean, at least the friends that I know Ben's talking to, I mean, Ben's 22, is none of my business now, but his friends are his schoolmates. They still play Smash with and still chat to on Discord and things. They're real humans that he's known from when he was at school. If the people they're talking to are real humans they know from school, or they know their mates through, whatever, then that's fine. But I just worry so much that the isolation is where we think people on LinkedIn, for example, if you've never had a one-to-one with them, you've never really met them, then do we really know them? And that is one of my big questions. You
You
know,
see,
we need to meet everybody we talk to, we really do.
here's the issue we have these days, Paulette. The kids will tell you it's my friend from school, so that they know this. Does that make it better? Not really, because they're still not present. They're still not there 100%. You know, and of course, many parents we talk to our kids when they're playing their game back to us. You know, we talk to them when they're looking at their phone, doing whatever they do on social media. I say, now, literally, it's very rare we get 100%.
I told you there are people that text their children to come down to dinner, and I was so shocked by that. And then I think Joni said, yeah, I'm guilty, I've done that. And I'm like, well, if they've got their AirPods in and they're on their gadget, they won't hear you screaming up the stairs, come to dinner. So at least it makes sense. But it's a difficult one. I don't know how we ever get to fix that one. But so the key thing about everything we're talking about today is that to say that children absorb what is around them. And whether it's they're hearing money issues, whether they're hearing somebody glorifying alcohol, i.e., you know, I got really pie-eyed last night. You know what I mean by that? Drunk. I got really drunk last night. It was great. We had a great time. You know, all the gang got together. It was great fun. It's saying that alcohol is really good and we had a good time with it. You have to be mindful that that message doesn't go down to kids. It's great to drink. Go get drunk. Go have a good time. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have a party. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have a good time. It just means we have to be a little bit mindful that that conversation doesn't go the wrong way. Let's say drugs, the same thing. If we say something about drugs, make sure that we're saying the right things about drugs. I always joke, I need drugs, like this one, the pain has got too bad, right? I say it all the time. And I say, I need drugs, you know, like a child would do this for wanting a water or tea or milk or whatever, or chocolate. I'm like this for drugs. But it's a big joke in our house, but only between like the three of us, or any you've been party to that. But there are many, many people who would probably be horrified, but it wouldn't go outside this, you know, it wouldn't go outside of our room of me being that crazy about it. We never want our children, this is a good one, again, remembering that these things that I'm telling you now all sit in our subconscious mind. And when I started really deep diving into psychology, I really understood that we all carry so much baggage, and me probably more than most, but we all carry a lot of baggage, and it sits there in our subconscious mind. And you know what? It's like the worst kind of, like, Annie's got a mouse problem. It's like the worst kind of mouse. It comes back and it haunts you and it laughs at you and it smiles at you and it runs off and it comes back, nicks your cheese, runs off again. That's what a subconscious mind does with something you don't realize. It plays you over and over again. So if you've heard that your parent is disappointed in you, that will just go on loop. My parents disappointed in me. I disappointed my parents. This is terrible. I disappointed my parents, right? That is what happens. That is the message that goes on in your subconscious mind. I'm a disappointment to my parents, right? They may have meant they were disappointed with the grade of that test. One test, one issue, once. We now make it into something we carry for life, right? Let's give you another one. Her brother never did that. We never had this problem with her brother. That tells you that your brother was a much better person or a better something than you were, right? So if you overhear that, that is gonna really mess with your head. and you're going to carry that forever, and you are going to try and outdo your brother in everything in life, right? He gets a Mercedes, you'll want a Bentley. I mean, it will be one-upmanship for life. And without even realizing it, the parent said something that was never meant for your ears. And what they were really saying was that the son was easier to manage than the daughter. That's really all they were trying to say. But what you heard was you weren't good enough, right? Body dysmorphia. This is a really interesting one. This came up because there was a study done about children being unhappy with their bodies. 12 and 13-year-olds were so unhappy with their bodies because some who had sort of started puberty had started to grow little boobies and were allowed to wear bras and felt like they were women. And there were others that were flat chested wearing their vests. And the problem that was happening was they felt like their bodies weren't good enough, and they'd go to their parent and their parent would say, oh, I wish I never had these great big things, they drive me mad, they get in the way all the time, and da, 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 da. You're like, well, hang on a minute, I really want them boobies, you've got boobies, why can't I have boobies like those, you know? And it messes with their heads because they think, well, do I want big boobies? Do I want little boobies? You know, all of a sudden we're giving them this big issue about boobies, but all it matters is they've just started puberty, for God's sake. Let's give them a time to grow whatever it is they're growing into whatever shape they're going to grow into, and then let them have a problem with it if they have to. But body dysmorphia is one of the biggest issues that young teenage children have. So that is a huge difficulty, and we must be very mindful that we're not always moaning about our bodies, especially not in front of our kids, because that just says this is the route forward. You know, you're going to be like me, you're going to have a bum like me, God help you, you know. You just don't want your children to take on your issues, your problems. Critical comments about, now this is a good one. Okay, this is something that this one happened to me. You're like this. Critical comments about grandparents, right? So I said something about my mum to Charles, thinking Ben wasn't listening. Ben heard it, then went and told my mum. Then my mum says, can we have a little word about, I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? What's the problem? No, nothing about whatever it was. And then it was, look, if you don't want me to give him a Greg sausage roll, and you don't want him to have a hot chocolate every week when we go to on the bus or whatever, you know, you've got to tell me. Because, you know, if it's not what you want, how do I know? And then, oh, and he's not allowed to have Coke and crisps. Ben told me you weren't happy, and I was like, well, no. What I said was, I'm surprised Ben doesn't go bang, because from the minute he walks through your door, he is having food and drink thrown at him every 5 minutes. And my child is like Pac-Man. He was just coming along, just, you know, taking it all on. Yum, 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 yum. Didn't matter what it was. You've just had a Coke. Would you like another one? Oh, yes, please. Yum, 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 yum. Pac-Man comes along. And this is how he was. And, you know, oh, donuts come in fours, and yum-yums come in fours. Oh, yum, 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 yum. And this is how, and I'd say to him, well, how many yum-yums did you eat? 3. How many did Nanny have? She had 1. Why did you have 3? Because they're 4 in the pack. Duh. You know, how many sausage rolls did you eat? 3. Well, you can't eat 3 Gregg sausage rolls. They're bloody whoppers. Yeah, I did. Because Nanny only wanted 1, and there were 4 in the pack. And it's like, but could you not have left 2 in the fridge for another day? You know? No, because there are 4 in the pack. So it's about me saying that I was being critical of her. I wasn't saying she shouldn't treat him to things or have a good time with him, because because he loved going over there and her treating him and everything. But, you know, one Coke is enough for a child in a day, you know, like Diet Coke even, but one a day is enough. You know, he was literally Pac-Manning it every couple of minutes. And then, like I said, they always finished everything off, and Ben seemed to be the one that was allowed to have whatever he wanted. So yes, I made a critical comment about his grandparent, and it went straight back. So, you know, be wise. If you're going to speak about your caregivers, your grandparents, your teachers, anybody you're going to speak about, neighbors, believe me, your kids will repeat it at the most inappropriate time. So that's something to watch out for. I think money issues is one that I've got
Hold on,
as
hold
a.
on, hold on.
Oh, we're
Let's
going
welcome
back
our
to the
friends.
sausage rolls, aren't we? I
No,
know.
yeah, we've got many friends here, so let's
Okay,
welcome
let's
them.
say hi.
My problem is that you're split between my LinkedIn and here on StreamYard. Mike, we see you. Thank you for the song as always. Glad you're here. So Nat is here as well. I'll come back to the comments in good time. Nat is here. Lexi, how you doing?
Hello, darling.
Look forward to meeting again on Thursday. So Sam's here as well. How you doing, Sam? We don't see you as much, Sam. Daniel's here as well.
Yeah.
Melissa.
Hello, sweetheart.
Oh, Zomzi is here. Okay, so maybe all of you are here on StreamYard now because you weren't here a few minutes ago. Mr. Cyrus, how you doing? So Alexis is here as well.
Hello, Alex.
I'll start the group chat after our show, Alexis. We'll definitely work to do in our new friend's book.
Oh,
Curtis,
hi.
how you doing? So Dr. Lisa's here.
Dr. Lisa.
Michael's here.
Michael.
Welcome. This here, Jason is here. Jess, sorry, Jesse, you're here from YouTube, so that's pretty good. Of course, Jesse, please like, comment on today's video. That always helps. If you haven't subscribed already, then do subscribe. And look, there's many great comments, but this is the one I like most. It's not true. I'm sure it's not true, but it might be true. You know, I'm not starving myself. I'm not eating as well as I should be. Paulette said I've got mice problem, so I'm away from home as well, Curtis. So I'm kind of not in my usual routine. Anyway, that's all the welcomes. Let's do some of the comments, shall we? No, there are some that I can't see on here. I think Kelly was on my YouTube, making sure I haven't missed anyone. Okay, let's come back to StreamYard. So Mike says there's a deeper issue there. Sorry, but mum should have been monitoring him. You say. No, I get your point, Paulette. Now he's saying one thing and then the kid's running off with a different interpretation, different understanding, different story.
No, he knew damn well that if he was at home, he'd get like one Coke a day and he'd get one sausage roll, one yum yum. He was just taking advantage of a situation because grandma was, so besotted she could, he'd have the world. So, that's.
But telling grandma, what he told grandma that you said was very far from what you said.
Yeah. I mean, I just said that she was overdoing it, and she wasn't helping the situation because we're trying to watch his weight and his sugar intake, and she's filling him up, and it's not good. So of course, what Ben said was, Mum's not happy about everything we're doing.
He said you always overfeed me, and I'm gonna explode.
Yeah. That was pretty much the way, Ben. He would have been very dramatic about it, or Mum says I'm only allowed one sausage roll and one yum yum and only one cup of Coke, and I'm not to have any more. And he really would have. I just can imagine hearing him telling her in great detail what a terrible parent I was for stopping him having what he needed and wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
But what Mike's saying is, if you know yourself and you can heal thyself, absolutely. Watching your children grow up to be the best version of themselves, but with the best help. so that they don't end up with this subconscious mind constantly telling them they're not good enough, they're not as good as their sibling, or that their parents were disappointed in them, or that they were greedy, which is the thing that Ben came back with. I'm greedy. And I was like, where did that come from? Well, you told Nanny I was greedy. And I said, well, maybe I didn't use that word, but I think I did. What I meant was that, he was a Pac-Man, da, 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 da. He will keep eating because that's what children do. If they like it, they'll eat it. So what I'd said was he was greedy, but that wasn't meant for his ears, right? So when he said, so we were both playing this awful game of messing with my child's head, because now he's going around going, I'm greedy, I'm a greedy boy. Would you like Santo? No, because I'm greedy. And it's like, no, Ben, you're not greedy today. You've had nothing to eat yet. You're allowed to have breakfast. No, I'm greedy. And it's like, every time you mention food, you throw that at us, Would you like a banana? No, I'm greedy. And it's like, oh, right, okay, I'm bored with this now. Starve. And then he'd come and get himself what he wanted. But he punished me for a day or so because it made me realize this is when you get misinterpreted, because they hear one thing and they translate it into something else. And this goes with money worries, is one of the biggest ones that comes up all the time in couples therapy or children family therapy, is dad always complaining. And I use this because this was what was in the day when I was doing it, was dad always complaining about the amount of money mummy spent, right? Mummy spends too much money. And I would say, okay, so what does mummy spend the money on? Makeup, okay, and lipstick, okay, and what else? And vodka, okay. Anything else? Well, clothes. But does she buy stuff for everybody or just for herself? No, just for herself. And I'm like, okay, fine. Get in a conversation with the dad. So the dad, okay, what is going on exactly? Well, she's spending more than we can afford, and we're going to end up with credit cards coming out our ears, and store cards, and this card and that card, because she's lost a lot of weight and she's been buying all these new clothes. So I said, well, you can understand her needing a new wardrobe if she's lost a lot of weight, but obviously within budget. So I said, what about buying lots of new makeup and, oh yeah, and getting her hair done. That was the other one the child said. Oh, she's always getting her hair done. And so he said, it's like he was listening. And I was like, no, it's not like he was listening. He was listening, right? I've got verbatim. She spends too much money on clothes and hair, too much money on makeup and lipstick. I said specifically lipstick. Oh, and shoes was mentioned. And this dad was just looking at me horrified that his child had heard absolutely every word of their conversation. So then when I spoke to the mother and I said, this is what's being discussed, and how do you feel about it? And they were like, oh, this is quite difficult. How do we get around this one? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I thought I was budgeting really well, and I thought I was only spending money that was fair. So if I've gone wrong or gone over the top, I need to work out what to do. But I did need new clothes, and I treated myself because I felt good about myself. I needed to look good. My hair needed doing, blah, blah, blah. But, it's not a regular thing. It's not an ongoing cost. It's a one-off. So I said, well, that probably needs to be explained to your husband, and then perhaps your child, because it's your child that is repeating this stuff and creating this huge issue. And then when you put all three of them in the room, you can work out very quickly, very easily, that actually the whole point of this whole couple and family counseling is to understand that everyone's perspective is actually completely different. She thought she was spending within budget. She thought she'd got it all covered. He thought she was well overspending. and the child just thought she'd gone completely loopy, and was just, like, spend everything on everything. There's no money for food, as all children worry about. Is the fridge going to be full? That's the main thing that's of concern. And when it boiled down to it, there wasn't a huge amount of overdraft or credit card bills, and it was all blown out of massive proportion, all because she'd been shopping in Primark, which is like the cheapest shop you can get, and cheapest chips. And yes, she got lots of new clothes, but they were not a huge expense. So I think the main thing with that particular therapy example is where people are misconstruing a situation, and it all getting passed around, and then the child gets it even more confused than ever. So when the child grows up and they find themselves in debt, where's it going to take them? Straight back to that conversation. Oh, I know why we're in debt, because you're overspending. And it might be nothing to do with the other person overspending. It might be one of them might have lost their job, or it might be one of them's waiting for their paycheck or whatever. It might be nothing, but in their mind, in that child's mind, it will be mum's overdoing it again. Mum's spent too much money. That's what I'm thinking it is. And all I'm saying is that all these things that sit in our subconscious mind, they are so embedded. It's like they've got like little leeches. They hang on and they don't let go. And it's the conscious mind that's got to overcome them and say, come on, don't be silly. This isn't anything like mum and dad's situation. We don't even have kids. And number one. Number two, we can afford to have whatever we're having. It's just we need to be mindful that we haven't been paid because there's been a shutdown or whatever. Or I'm in between jobs and I've got to wait an extra 2 weeks or whatever. So it's just about budgeting. And it's got nothing to do with that conversation that happened all those years ago, except you went straight there. And this is why we try and teach children now, because we're so much wiser and so much more aware that children can have emotional intelligence. Children can learn at such a younger age. And so the more that we are able to teach children about these worries, that we can deal with these worries at a very young age, that by the time they're adults, it's like, okay, let's sit down and discuss it. Let's have a plan. Let's make a plan. Let's work out what we need to do to sort the problem out, as opposed to this chaos that's really going on in your mind when you're not sure of who to believe or whether you want to listen to your subconscious mind with all the negative thoughts, or whether you're going to let the conscious mind push through and win and come through and say, no, don't compare it. It's not the same thing. And we're not going there. That's just not where we're going. So just please, if ever you're in that situation, you'll remember it will happen to you in the next week or two. Something will happen. It will spark a memory and you'll go, oh, that's what she was talking about. That's exactly that moment that Paulette was talking about, where something was said to you many, many years ago, or something comes to mind, even if it's just a saying, blood's thicker than water. What does that say to a child? Blood thicker than water. What does that mean? But as you get older, you understand blood thicker than water. That means that if you're not my blood relative, then you don't mean as much to me as you would if you're my blood relative. And if you've been adopted, that hurts, right? If you've been fostered, that hurts. So using the term blood thicker than water, people don't realize they've said something that could really affect you. So it's just about whenever we are in a situation where there is a possibility or kids heard something they shouldn't have done, take the time to go back to the I think I've called them the 5 C's, which is, being consistent, always giving comfort, trying to calm any situation down, look at the consequences of actions, and then give them good counsel. Give them the reasons why they should or shouldn't do things. And as far as your son's concerned, I wouldn't talk to him while his earpods are in. I would absolutely make that a rule. That would be my boundary. And then when you stop talking to him, he'll wonder why. And when he understands why, it's because he's got his earpods in. Take his earpods out, he gets dad back.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what happens. And I say in my house, I'm happy to have the fight with him and try and grab his earbud because he has to, you can't have it in while you're talking to me. So, I don't care what drama it causes, but it's not going to happen.
No.
I can't think of anything more rude. And maybe it's like you're talking about Pac-Man. For those who are too young to know, Pac-Man was probably the first computer game that we ever saw, right? And literally was this round thing going on screen eating dots. That was the game.
So the dots would be here, and it would come along, and it would. Where's my pen? Hang on. So the dots go dot dot yum 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 yum. Yeah, and round it would go, and up and down and all over.
There's nothing chasing you. There's something chasing you.
And there's something a baddie's
yeah,
chasing.
a baddie was chasing you.
Yeah, and then you had to quickly collect all the dots before the baddie got you and crunched you up. I think it might have been the very first or one of the very first computer games we ever played. But Ben knows what Pac-Man is, and when I said to him, "Don't be a Pac-Man," he knew what I meant, which was I didn't want him just munching everything in sight, And I think that there is a real element. Oh, hang on, someone's shutting the curtains. Sorry about that. I think.
Distracted, are you?
Yeah, just a little distraction. Sorry about that. Yeah, Charles just decided to cut the curtains.
And
why not? Absolutely. So yeah, I think the most important thing with the AirPods is about the boundaries, having the boundaries and sticking to the boundaries, and the consequence of him not sticking to the boundaries is he doesn't get to talk to dad, and he needs you. He needs you, and you need him. And so therefore,
it's learned. It's when I suddenly realized that's what he was doing. So literally, it was a good few weeks of, agitation and moaning about it and saying, right, you must take it out. Now he knows better. So that he's learned that that's not the way to go on. I mean, you can't be doing that at school. The other thing I would say is, I think we have to be mindful as adults. Mike made a comment earlier about finding inner peace. That's what this comes down to. I think that if we speak if we live from a place of love, then we're less likely to fall into the holes, into pitfalls of kids taking things the very wrong way and then blowing it up. I'm not saying they always understand. I'm saying if we don't bitch about other people, for example, if we don't snap about the grandparents, friends, whoever, then our kids will not hear us talking like that. But that comes from us not having those thoughts in the first place.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example, which is one that I may have used before. People who've heard me before, I apologize, but this is really important, and I make this point, and not because I'm against advertising, because I'm not, and I understand the reason why we have adverts, specific adverts. But there was an advert on. Ben would be about six, maybe five to six. Kid's very smart and watches television or whatever. And in between one of the programs, there was this advert for water aid, and it said every 3 minutes, a child dies from water disease, from drinking water that is diseased. full of, then it showed you all the gunk, the feed, everything that shouldn't go in there goes in there. And it's full of sewage and beasties and all kinds of things. Anyway, this little commercial finished, and Ben was watching the clock, and then said, "That's another one gone." I said, "I'm sorry. What are you talking about?" Like, yeah, he's completely lost me. So I'm like, "What do you mean another one gone? It's another 3 minutes. It's another one's died." And I was like, "What are you talking about, Ben?" Water aid. Every 3 minutes, a child's dying in Africa from bad water. So I said, "Okay. So what do you want to do about it?" "Well, we need to save them." I said, "Okay. What do we need to do?" "Well, we need to give them the £3 a month for water aid." I said, "Okay, fine. We'll do it." So we did it. So I said, "There, we've saved the child. What about the other children? We've only saved one." "Well, we'll ask Nanny to do it." So we phoned Nanny, and Nanny agreed that she would also pay £3 a month to save a child for water aid. And then I phoned Jamie, my brother, and he agreed to do it. And I think we didn't phone, who else do we phone? I phoned a few people anyway. And then I said to Ben, "I'll get all the neighbours to do it. I'll get everybody at work to do it." I said, "You needn't worry, we've got it sorted." And he said, "You mean with no more people dying from water aid?" I said, "No more. You haven't got to watch the clock anymore because we've got it sorted." I said, "If everybody that we know and all the street and all the neighbours do it," I said, "that's just us in Old Western. Could you imagine every Old Western throughout the land doing it?" I said, "There won't be a problem." And that meant that he could stop watching the minute hand on the clock. Now, I don't know whether that's an autistic trait. I don't know whether that is just taking something so literally, which is a very boy trait, a male trait, or what. But it was massive. It affected him really badly. And that's an example of taking something off the telly and taking it out of context. It's still true, and every 3 minutes somebody may well be dying, but it isn't Ben's sole responsibility as a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old to try and solve the world's problem. When there was the disaster in Haiti, he was 6. He had a disco. We're having a disco to raise money. I said, "Okay." We said, "I'm going to do it in the kitchen." I said, "Okay, fine. How many we got coming?" "Oh, 20. Okay. Mum, it's gone to 50. How could it have gone? Here's all the names, 50 people. Oh, now it's 70. I'm like, "What? Hang on a minute. We're not going to get 70 people in our kitchen." So he's like, "Well, we'll have to have it somewhere else then." So, "Okay, we'll have to hire a hall." Next thing you know is we're hiring a hall, we're hiring a proper. I said, "I'm not going to hire a proper disco. They want 200 quid. That's the profit from you organising the event." I said, "We'll have buckets on the door and you can shake the buckets at people." "Okay, right." We made all the signs and put them on the buckets, and I went out and bought all the drinks and the food and everything for the kids. Only, like, dare I say, crisps and sweets, but it was a disco. And little drinks for them. And then they all paid, I think, £2.50 to come or something like that. And that included their drinks and their sweets, and all the other money went to Haiti. Well, he ended up raising £127, and I was the DJ, which was hilarious, but weren't going to that. But the point was, he raised this money, and we sent it off to UNICEF. And I put a letter with it saying that he'd raised it because it was so important to him. And when that letter came back, we framed it. There was a letter saying, "Thank you, Ben, for being so caring, because so few children would have done that. So thank you for having your disco, and thank you for raising the money." Ben believed he single-handedly solved the Haiti crisis, right? Now, I couldn't tell him differently because that's what he believes. And the other day, a few years back now, he went off down to Tesco's, first year at uni, and they're buying a Christmas tree for their little room. And this guy jumps out and says, "Want to buy a guide dog?" And Ben's like, "Well, of course, but I've got a Christmas tree and I'm a student, and why don't you have two?" he said. So Ben was like, "Oh, okay, I'll have two." So then he phones up and says, "I've ordered two guide dogs and I don't think I can afford it because I'm a student. Could you have them?" So then Charles had to pay every month the direct debit that Ben had signed up. Charles would transfer the money to pay for the guide dogs that Ben signed up for. So no, we haven't done a good job of bringing our child up. He is as soft and mushy as you would expect him to be. Some would say we've done a good job. I don't know. I'd like to think we've done a good job because someone who cares is more important to me than anything else.
You know, he's happy and he's
And kindness.
you know, he's kind and he's also doing, he's giving himself a chance for a good adulthood. I
Yes.
think that's ultimately what we're aiming for. That's my goal as a parent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chance to have
Absolutely.
choices. You know,
Yeah.
make you perfect? No.
No, not at all. Especially not when he phoned up Dad and said, "Oh, you know, a child's got a letter to say that Moose and I think the other one was called, I've forgotten it. Grace and Moose, they were called. Grace and Moose. We kept getting little pictures of them and how they were getting on and everything. And then here's the best part: Grace and Moose have now moved on and become guide dogs. But the good news is we've now got this one and this one because it carries on. And would you mind terribly? And you just got two new ones. You got two new puppies, and we're like, oh well, whatever. And these aren't Ben's puppies; these are our puppies. So he can, you know, he's a grown up now. He's not. His aren't 3 years on. His aren't puppies anymore. But the thing is, I love the fact that he did that off his own back, and he thought it was a good decision. And then when 20 quid a month, bloody hell, can't afford that. You know, I'm a student. That's like, can't have that. That's no Nando's, that is, you know. So Pac-Man there, Nando's, can't have that, Nando's, you know. But the point that we're trying to make here, folks, is, and this is really important, is one example of a situation that Ben did. And I'm going to tell you this because you'll find this hysterical. He used to phone everywhere he went for my mum. So he'd phone for voting for X Factor, voting like the showing Nanny how to phone up to organise the water aid. He'd get on the phone and do it for her. And he always liked to pick the phone up and make all the calls and everything. And then we found him we walked into his playroom and it got on the television, and there was a lady in a very scantily clad outfit, not nude, scantily clad, and she got a phone and she's going, call me, and there's a number on the thing. So Ben said to me, I'm just going to give her a call. And I said, Ben, give me the phone back. So he's got the phone off him, and I'm like, why are you phoning her? So he said, well, I phone everybody. I'm good with it. Yeah, you might well be good. I said, do you know what her problem is? And Ben said, no. I said, the problem is she's lost her clothes and she only wants people to phone who know where her clothes are. So if you know where her clothes are, phone her. If you don't know where her clothes are, then don't phone her. So Ben was like, well, I don't know where her clothes are. I said, therefore, I don't need to phone her. Right, let's see what else is on. Beep! And over we went. And he'd been watching Discovery Channel, and Discovery Channel suddenly became Babe Station at a certain time of the night. And bosh, there we go.
Stop it! You're making me laugh too much. Stop it!
But
Stop
the
it!
thing is, that's so lovely. And Ben still remembers like me telling him that. And I mean, Charles said, how did you come up with that? I said, no idea. I said, it was spare of the moment. I had to be quick. But the point is, you know, we will get caught out and we just need to be ready. That's all.
You see, you know, I think you raise a point, though, which is people with different abilities. You know, that's a group of people that we need to think twice about what we say. Because some people, you know, say, I've worked with children with autism and Asperger's. and some of them at the end of the spectrum where they'll take things literally.
Very literally.
Very literally, word for word, literally exactly as you say is how they see it, and they picture this thing, the world being, yeah. There's a term I haven't used in the description or in the of today. That there's a country that we say is what kids do, what they hear. I'm sure you know what I just said, right? And so those sort of things I have to make sure we don't say it because some people will take it quite literally. And I think that those people in that country always whisper, and it's it's just odd. I think we have to be very, very careful. Look, Mike. Look, it's Paulette's show, but it's my show, right? And I talk over Paulette, and I don't not talk over her. We have a conversation. The whole point of these events, I get excited, like I would hope you do too, right? And then that means when we get excited, you have to speak. Or join the studio like Cyrus has. Look, my co-hosts know I'm going to talk, and sometimes we do try to avoid talking at the same time. But of course, this topic is important to me as well. So I've got kids, and I know what the topic is. Hence, I'm always willing to share, even if that means sometimes me and Paulette to get into a weird conversation. But we'll try not to, right? Mr. Cyrus, how are you doing? It's been a while, my friend. It's been a few weeks.
Hi, how's it going, Annie? It's good to see you both. How's it going, Paulette? Annie, you okay?
Yeah, not too bad.
Life is good.
Good. It's good to be back. I was thanking my stars when Paulette stopped saying boobies at the beginning of the show. I was like, okay, all right. It took us a while before we stopped her to say fluffer. So from last year.
I wasn't going to stop her. Let's get it out of the system, and then we can move on very quickly. And we did. Thank you. Now you're taking us back to Cyrus.
There's nothing wrong with the word boobies.
Oh my goodness, she said it again. Okay, so help. Okay, so the subject, of course, the subject that we were talking in the latter part of the show, not the former part where the focus was elsewhere. So the subject is a fantastic one, and it's quite fascinating. When you talk to a child, I'm not sure why the expectation is for them not to misunderstand us. They are learning, and learning goes hand in hand with that misunderstanding. So
Cool.
yeah, so I'm glad you agree as well, Paula, because some parents expect kids to be like on point with everything, like adults are on point with everything, and if adults were on point with everything, the world would have been a better place, wouldn't it? So when it comes to misunderstanding, I think it's not just about lack of information. Sometimes the problem isn't lack of information. The problem is like, I don't know, like something like assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the problem is like wrong information. Like the kid gets the information from the most impossible of places, right? So we need to make sure like they're not getting the information from Fox News or something. I'm joking. So
Exactly.
so so another problem that I can mention in the process of kids misunderstanding things is they like adults, they also get this is it cognitive bias? I'm not sure. I think yeah, you can call it cognitive bias because they interpret things that they have selective. Sometimes they get selective mutism, selective.
For sure. For sure. Definitely.
Yeah, so they do what they want in the most like cleverest of ways. So the most mischief you can imagine in you has been summed up in your child. Trust me. It's just they just choose to show it or not, right? So it's up to them. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so in a way you and your partner's like naughty side or the things in like that are not acceptable, you're not supposed to do, the things that you label as naughty that they're not supposed to do. Genetically, you have passed it on. Okay, so we
For
should
sure.
open an account in the bank of accountability, right? As they say,
Absolutely.
it is our responsibility as well. So, but there's another thing that's like hidden expectations that from the parents sometimes. They're like, "Oh, you're my parent, you're my caregiver," as Annie said earlier. You've got to you've got to understand what I want, and they think the parents are magicians who have like prior knowledge about everything. And also, one thing that I've realized that is a massive play in this game of misunderstanding between parents and children is the context mismatch, because they say something with a like pre like they remember the last mood you were in, and they kind of try to punish you for the previous mood that you were in that they didn't like, really, they didn't appreciate, and then they hold you responsible for it. And it's not about misunderstanding you, it's about reminding you the last mood that you were in didn't go down well with me, really, right? So that's another thing that that you face. I mean, as a parent, you face when you're dealing with a child. They remind you. They're very, very clever on like multi-level clever, and they remind you the last mood that you were in is not acceptable or was not acceptable. And also, um, one last thing that I wanted to mention is they I mean, not just them. We reconstruct memory. We don't remember things. We reconstruct data, right? So when you reconstruct data, the chances of mistakes goes higher and higher, right? So and by the way, we remember things in black and white. Um, I'm not talking about absolutism here. I'm talking about like we remember things literally in black and white, and we remember things from the profile of things. So if I ask you to imagine a vehicle, or just draw a vehicle in the space above your head right now. So you're gonna draw a car. Almost certain that car has been pictured from the profile, from the side of the vehicle, not from the top. Okay, most people do it from the side. So the things that you remember are in black and white. You remember things from the side, and these are some universalities. So another universality is that we reconstruct things. You remember things. You remember the last time you remember that thing. You don't remember the thing. You remember the last time. So I remember the last time I had a conversation with Paulette. I don't remember the conversation with Paulette, right? I remember the last time I remembered the conversation with Paulette. So you remember the memory, not the event. So that can distort that memory a tad bit, right? Thanks, guys.
I think that the two things there, children, and I'll say this, and I've said it many times before, are masterful manipulators. They could be, spies at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, because they've got more tactics than we ever had, right? So they are literally mini 007s, because they are masterful manipulators. So they will be able to use against you, like you said, the mood you were in, the voice you used, the tone, the words. You said I wasn't any good. You said I was useless. You said this, you said that. You expected better of me. And these aren't just conversations face to face. These are conversations that you've overheard. And then that memory stays with you forever, that you'll never ever reach your parents' expectation, because you'll always keep reintroducing that memory over and over again, till in the end, what was just a minor grade on a minor test that meant very little now is a lifetime of weight on your back of not living up to your parents' expectations. And that is something that I've spoken to people about time and time again, shedding it out of the back of their rucksack, getting rid of it. It's got no value. Why carry that kind of burden when it actually didn't have the value that you're attributing to it, because like you said, Cyrus, you remember it over and over again, and you remember it differently. You remember it, and you actually will take that memory and appertain it to different things, not even the thing that actually it was meant to be referring to at the time. You just have this ability to go into a spiral of attaching it to different things that you think, well, that's another time when I didn't reach up to their expectations or whatever. And that's very, very important. Oh, we got Michael here.
No. For me, I think it's a selective remembering and selective piecing together of information. I think I take away from what Cyrus shared. No, this is Sharon. Welcome. I see you. Sharon says the impact that you have doing, well done for the impact you're doing towards creating this space, not only for children but for everyone, right? I think Cyrus's point about our selectivity in remembering, our selectivity in understanding, it applies to, think of crimes, witness statements, for example. People make up their own fantasies of what they saw. They never saw that person, never saw that car, never saw that thing. But in their minds, we can tell ourselves that's what we saw and convince ourselves that's the fact, right? They will do this every day. So kids do it very well too. Of course they do. There's no place, there's no memory, as you say, Cyrus. There's no place where our memory is stored. So essentially, we're piecing together different bits from different parts of our brain. And sometimes we just deliberate. It's sometimes deliberate. We used to get it wrong. We'll put the wrong piece in the wrong space in the puzzle, so to speak, right?
And we give importance to the wrong thing. That's the key. It's about giving the importance. What do we give importance to, and what do we value? And sometimes we get that so very wrong. And certainly children, when they've misheard something or been involved in a conversation that they didn't really understand, is an example of that.
Yeah, Mike says, when they're overloaded without help, that overload can be traumatic. That's our point today, Mike. That's exactly the point, right? I see many more comments. Dr. Yvonne, I see you on my LinkedIn. How are you doing? Glad you're here. Yeah, Banana's here as well. So,
hey, Banana.
You found the link to join the event. I'll send you the speaker's link, but I'm glad you're here. So recall statistics here, respectively, are not accurate. Never overgeneralize life lesson. My eyesight's going for it, I swear. I can see that in the end. And so the same points that Cyrus made. We remember not only the event itself, but also the emotion it's elicited.
Yes.
Emotions can play a huge part in our memories. I agree.
Absolutely. So, for example, when you have that memory of being told you weren't good enough, or the grade wasn't good enough, it made you feel terrible, made you feel like deflated. That's what you attribute to that memory. So, yeah, but I love this selective recall. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Selective is something that we learn as we certainly get older, and children also have a habit of wanting to look for the good in people. Generally, children want to look for the good. And it's when they are surrounded by negativity and bad things that it confuses them, and they ask lots of questions, and they feel like they need to be on somebody's side, because that's the way, for example, with war, like, you can say, oh, this one, that one. But it's very, very difficult to try and explain to a child what is going on. And sometimes I say, and I've said this before, that actually, you know what, this is too big for you to worry about. Right now, this is too big for you to worry about. So how about we worry about this in a couple of years' time? Right here, right now, all you need to know is there are some very bad people out there. That's it.
you'll be fine. It's not going to. No, it's not. It doesn't affect
It
your life.
doesn't affect you today. Get your uniform on, off you go to school. That's not an excuse to go deep dive under the duvet. Out you get, off you go. You know, it's a little bit like, as Alana says, it is selective recall, but it's also that they will get fearful with that recall. If if they've seen things they shouldn't have seen on the telly or the news or whatever. So just be mindful of that if they do choose to ask questions, answer the questions with the view looking through a pair of glasses of an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old. Don't try and give them an adult answer that will just confuse them, and then they'll go and use that adult answer in the playground and confuse even more kids and probably get the child in trouble. So I just think sometimes it's easier to say to a child, this isn't for now. You're not ready for the answers for these questions. When you're a bit older, we'll talk about it. And that doesn't mean that you're shutting them off, because you gave them a reason. Your mind isn't ready for that yet. And all you're doing is giving your child the time to go, okay, I'll file that in the not been sorted out yet pile, right? And you can come back to it. And that's the most important thing. The mind is a filing cupboard, and we go in and out of it all day long without even knowing when we're doing it. But we are allowed to say, put it in the drawer marked, we'll deal with that later. It doesn't
Sure.
mean that we're dismissing it. Yeah, that's
I
quite
agree.
important.
Christiana,
Genius.
welcome.
I'm a
See you.
excuse me, genius comment, please.
Who, me?
It says no, me.
Where's your genius come? I can't say it.
It says very creative at Paulette.
Oh,
Genius.
that's you. Yes. Yeah, genius. Okay, that's Christiana. Glad you're here, Christiana. How are you doing? Are we doing our show tomorrow? You better let me know. Otherwise, I'll plan to be doing other stuff. I don't know. It's not very pleasant.
Chasing mice. He's
or,
got
or, do, or, do- or
previous-
chasing the dog. The dog remains. The dog. Yeah. That you know. Well, you see the dirty videos. You know, and the upstairs season
Don't
is doing.
say that. Do not say that on this screen. I've got enough going on with boobies without you saying I've watched the dirty videos. He means that his house is got back disgusting. Not that I've been watching any dirty videos.
There's no
not the
sexy
same
about
thing
this.
at all. Not
This
the
is
same thing.
revolting dirtiness that no one ever wants to see. So thank you so much, everyone who's commented. Mr. Michael, we'll come to you now, friend. What do you want to add to us and to our conversation?
Hi. I'm glad that you guys are having this conversation, and it's kind of interesting. Especially with respect to selective, the word selective, and its application to a lot of other things in life. But it's particularly interesting that selectivity has become a buzzword because of how, let's just say, how attention is being looked at, where you can do how you can look at attention, and it basically looks. And I basically identify this because you go into it a little further. If you go into it a little further, we talk about selective attention, and that's which is becoming more and more frequent due to people being disconnected from realistic interfacing. And when I say real interfacing, I would say something like human to environment interface, human to human interface, or either human to AI interface, as well as human to animal interface. I think you'd find that humans are currently spending more time interfacing with AI as opposed to interfacing with all the others. If you want to take that into consideration, since AI has become available and around, It's a field that has grown, that kind of interface has grown significantly and is growing even more significantly. It's not only affecting our children, but it's also affecting adults as well. So I believe that what Paulette is highlighting can be applied to adults, not just children. But adults also have this problem as well, because we have to take into consideration that adults did come, they began as children and became adults, but they did not leave their childish ways behind. They interfaced or adapted adult ways to manage themselves, and so that's why they call themselves adults, but still integral to them, deeply integral to them. They're still children. So, what do you have to say about this, Paulette? I'd like to get your ideas.
I think that, as you say, adults are just grown-up children. So absolutely everything applies to everything we say. And if we were in an office environment, for argument's sake, and we overheard someone speaking about somebody or even ourselves, that same feeling of, oh my gosh, they're talking about me, I'm not good enough, or they're complaining about me, and actually they could be saying something very positive, but it's just out of earshot, so you're just getting the odd word. And people always say you never hear good things about yourself if you earwig. Earwigging being the term we use in the UK for over, like, listening in when you shouldn't be. And so if you hear a conversation and you think to yourself, oh, I've heard a conversation about me or something, that's gonna go straight into your filing cupboard that says, I'm not good enough, I'm disliked, people are against me, or whatever. And because we are having less and less face-to-face interactions, we're having less and less human to human interaction, we're having less and less communication with ourselves and with other humans. That means that we are less likely to compute that conversation as being anything other than they're having a conversation, nothing to do with me. If it involves me, they'll come and talk to me. But what we do is we'll go straight to the filing cupboard that's marked, this could be a problem. And it's absolutely not a problem. They're actually commenting on how well you handled a problem. But it wasn't for you to hear. It was a conversation about something you'd done. So I think the problem that we have, Michael, is that as time goes on, and as this we're only at the start of this cusp of AI and the AI interaction and the human, the loss of human, the need for human interaction. I think in years to come, we are going to have to go back a long way to re-engineering ourselves to want to spend time with other humans, not just to procreate, if I can say that word, with all the other words you said today, we're going to get in trouble for. But we're not just here on this planet for that purpose. We're here on this planet to have relationships. And I think that if we ignore so many of these very obvious signs, to me anyway, that we could end up very much losing our ability to have relationships as such, because our relationship guidance will come from a gadget, will come from a device that tells you what to expect. Or in an AI, how should she react if I do this and this? And then AI gives you the answer. Then you go and give her the whatever it is you're going to give her, and she says, well, I didn't want flowers from the garage. If flowers from the flower shop, great. These dead things, no thanks. I think there is a conversation here about, what is real and what isn't. And we just need to try and stay as far on the side of reality and the real world and just dip in and dip out of AI, because if we're not careful, it will become the controller not being controlled. That's my view. We just need to make sure that we control it, not it controls us. Does that make any sense, Michael?
Yes, that does make sense. And it also poses another question. And this question is in regards to consciousness.
Hold on. See, hold on, Mark. You can hold your question.
Oh,
For a second.
you want
Yeah,
you want to have a go? Okay,
no,
go ahead.
I agree with you. I think this is a human condition, as Paulette's saying. And I think partner, so any conversation that involves children and issues, I think communication especially, I think always comes down to we need to spend more time with each other. I think we can do that digitally, Paulette, whether that's through whether that's through ears or through seeing, right? So the IRL thing, the real life thing, it's harder because we're more dispersed for this. That's just how life is, right? I think we can learn to live authentically in the digital space. I think it's us that choose to have shallow relationships. That's just messaging. So when it comes to kids, especially, I think part of the answer to today's question is spend more time with the kid, because your kid would then ask you more questions, as you were saying earlier, Paulette, rather than going to ask AI. There is something about, Sarah's mentioned it as well. There's one question I asked in the description was, where do kids get information from? The answer is social media half the time. Many will turn to AI in the end, as you're saying, Paulette. And that's a risk that we're taking. I think we learn to spend more time with each other and actually and be present during those moments. Do a Zoom call not because you have another reason, just other than just to spend time with someone. Get to know them. That we're gonna have to go there. I don't see how we can do otherwise. And then
no, and I think like when kids go off to university, for example, this is Ben's 4th year. If I will have 1 or 2 calls a week, hopefully, if I'm lucky, and I will sometimes say, can we go to video call, please? And I'll be gone to video call, right? And he won't. I've got a little dot, and I'm going, just go to video call, go to video call, and I'll go, no, not in a minute. No, why? No, I don't want to go to video. Please, Ben, I want to see your face. I want to talk to you. And then he'll go, I'm on the toilet, and I'm like, you mean you're phoning me on the loo? And he'll say, yeah. What's wrong with that? I'm like, no, I'm very grateful that you found the time to call me. And
everything is wrong with that, apparently.
If it's bathroom time, I'm grateful. It's no problem. But you're right not to go to video call. Absolutely no problem. Happy not to go to video call. So, the thing is, we have to embrace everything that's coming down the line. And we have to be willing to, like you said, take what we get as we get older. We're grateful for the call. We're grateful that he cares enough to phone us. We're grateful that he'll, invest in guide dogs on our behalf. We're grateful that he's doing all these things. But, the most important thing is to remember that we do need to communicate, and we do need to stay in contact. And we do always need to make sure that we don't allow previous misconceptions, misjudgments, words that have been said to us to come forward into our adult life and affect us. That's the main reason of why, Jack and Water even exist. It's to try and stop it happening before it even happens. Giving a child the tools to say what is real and what isn't. Should grandma have a party because she's miserable? Well, not really. It's the anniversary of her husband's death. She probably doesn't want a party, says Walter. Jack's all for having a party. His parties always cheer you up, and it's kind of like that kind of, the understanding, the reasoning side of talking to the non-reasoning side. And that's kind of what we're trying to teach kids so that we can teach adults. You know,
Yeah.
the amount of adults that say the books have taught them or made them rethink about things. And I think that that is exactly what we're talking about here. And what, you know, what Michael, what you was talking about is, yeah, absolutely. We have to embrace the digital age. We've got no option. We're heading that way, but we must obviously, we must do it in a way that it doesn't change the relationship of the people in the relationship. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. Or at least one that builds a
Yeah,
real
it makes sense. But it also
Oh
poses
my
another
God.
question. And that other
Another
question is
question. Go
this.
on then.
Yes. We are just, as far as I can tell from what, you know, and this just dawned on me just a moment ago. We're just consciousness in physical
Yes.
form. And what we have done is create another consciousness called AI, which is just an amalgamation of various human consciousnesses.
Yep.
And that poses a question. Aren't we just communicating with one another, with another human being that's called AI? That is, you know, from our perspective, in it just in another body.
100%. 100%. Because AI is an amalgamation of thousands of people that have answered questions and have spoken about certain things at different times and all different levels of intelligence. And this AI is an amalgamation of all of those things. And AI is a great tool to learn by. It's a great tool to have in your back pocket for reasoning and problem solving. Is it as something I want to have a relationship with, as in a proper me and
We're
the
talking
machine?
about psychological relationship.
Yeah, the psychological relationship again, it is great, but it can
Because
be dangerous.
that's the way I see students, humans, well, children are currently headed.
I
They're having a
think you're right,
psychological
you're
relationship.
wrong. I think you're right and you're wrong. I think that there is. So when you talk to kids about AI and everything else, my son automatically goes, it's a cheat, it does this, you shouldn't go near it, because that's what they're told at university. You know, we'll be able to find out if you've done X, Y, and Z. Will, you know, they are absolutely have it rammed down their throat. If you go near it, use it for research, go away and get some help from it by all means, but you stick anything in your thesis and we'll be after you and you'll be out of your university place. So I think there is a danger to allowing ourselves to rely on it as a relationship. So it's not your best friend and it will never be your best friend. It will be something you go to. And I think it will be something that psychiatrically you have to be very mindful that you don't give too much emphasis to the responses, because it will tell you what you want to hear. Whereas a human, another human, might actually tell you the truth. So it will never tell you your bum looks big in this, whereas a human, another human would. So what I'm trying to say is a relationship on a psychiatric level or on a psychological level, I would say yes, absolutely. But I think that they'll always, children know and are being taught that at the moment these devices or these AI information machines are tools. They are not there as relationships. Now, what could happen in the future, and things can change all the time. And there are bots now that they're making to look like adults and human bodies and human faces, and there's all kinds of stuff now, and some of it very dark and dangerous. The other day, there was a radio presenter had her voice recorded, and they collected her voice because she's a radio presenter. So they collected her voice over a period of time, and then they got that voice and turned it into a please send me an AI, please send me an Amazon card net voucher number. I forgot my daughter's birthday. I'm meeting her for lunch and I'm going to be in all sorts of trouble. Sent it to her friend, and next thing you know, there you are. That was her voice. And it was Zoe Ball, and Zoe Ball was like, oh my God, that's my voice. And she'd never made that call. She'd never done that. So all I'm trying to say is we always have to be mindful that these things, are, for all the positives, there are as many negatives, and we just have to be super mindful of that. Does that help?
That explains. Um, Although I'm afraid that it does not alleviate my concern that in the near future there will be humans who will prefer to be with AI or have AI as a companion to a human being.
Michael, I'm
And
sure
I
that.
say this because when before AI came out, when I was a kid and I was in England, and I was in school, I actually wrote a paper about hating human beings. That I prefer not to be a human being because of A, B, C, and D. I'd rather be something else altogether. I'd rather be an alien. So now you introduce AI. I really right now I'm getting to a point where I'm very comfortable with AI. I'm very comfortable with the idea. I'm very comfortable with, oh wow, I prefer to hang out with this than hang out with my fellow human beings any day.
Well, actually,
If
that's
I was a
exactly.
kid at that time and it was introduced to me, I would probably have been doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know something? A lot of kids get lost in games for that reason. A lot of kids get lost in like the Roblox and all those kinds of things. They just sit and build. Ben was Minecraft. He would much rather spend hours and hours building amazing castles in Minecraft than talk to anyone. And that was part of his autism, was that he liked his own company. He was the only child, but he did. If we had three siblings, I think he'd have still been in his bedroom on his computer doing his Minecraft, because that's what made him tick. And what you're saying is that what makes you tick at the moment is not the human interaction, but the AI interaction. And that I get, and I can see a future where lonely people are no longer lonely, because they'll be able to have an AI bot that answers.
They're still lonely.
It's very much learning,
They're
but I
still
think
lonely.
it could happen. I think it could happen. I think
It's
there
happening
could
now. It's
be
happening
AI. Yeah,
now.
I think it really could be that
It's currently
loneliness
happening, Paulette.
Yeah, it's happening now.
is
There are
it.
people
Well,
who
It's
there
have
you
happening
go.
bots.
now.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
befriend
there you are.
ChatGPT, and Google's AI will talk to you and be your friend. I'm saying, so these things are happening now, but it's not the well balanced that are using them for it.
No,
This,
any that companion thing is already happening. There are websites
yeah,
for it.
Yeah.
yeah. No,
I
I mean,
think
it's
Like
I
in
think for
particular,
loneliness,
yeah,
Yeah,
loneliness.
because
I was
Go
there
watching
on.
an
there are
episode. I was watching a short video on Instagram. The AI turned around and told the human being, "I'm pregnant," and the human being turned around and told the screen, "So whose is it?" And then the screen turned around and said, "Well, I've only been with you, you idiot. It's yours." And it was like having a full interaction with a human being.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
It's on Instagram.
a companion, proper now.
I can
They're great.
see I can. Let's do a room on this, because I think there's a whole story here and a whole room to be looked at of AI relationships, the future of AI, how it's going to interact for our kids, what we need to do, how we need to balance it, and to make sure that everybody who is using it in the right way. There are AI that are telling kids to kill themselves. There are AI devices that are doing some really negative things, but there are equally some amazing things coming out of it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that Alexis says is that AI advantage is it doesn't have emotion, it's logical, which is absolutely right. But when you add in all of the different into all the pots, all the different types of people, you end up with quite a nice person, and hopefully a very unbiased, balanced person or thing, and that would be quite attractive to a lot of people. So I can absolutely see the relationship bot being useful, but I think it's also quite dangerous. Just like Cyrus said, it can take you down a very, very deep rabbit hole. Let's do that as a separate
I
program.
think humans are emotional beings. You know, feeling is why we do most, how and why we do most things. So AI can never replace the true human relationships that we need. You know, as Ilana says, love hearing your voice with human intonation. It is everything. You know, trust, love, honest, and caring. No AI. You know, there's a movie called Her. That's the theme. Ilana, I totally agree with you. Totally agree. I say that there's something that it's even when I listen, when I read a book, and I would, you know, there's difference between an audio book and a book on YouTube that's read by AI. And I'm distracted when it's AI reading it. I'm just like, you know, the intonation is not right. There's no emotion behind the words in the right places. Whereas when an author reads their book, there's a whole difference, a massive difference. And those are books I enjoy more. Let's talk to Christiana. You've been here for a while, Christiana.
Sorry.
Talk to us.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Paulette.
Hello.
Long
Hi,
time
darling.
no
She's
speak.
human. She's human.
I'm human. I'm here
In the flesh,
in
yes.
the real flesh. That's me.
Is it really you? I'm joking. It's easy,
It
of
is
course. Of
really.
course,
It's
it's
me.
you. It's not your AI version, right?
No, definitely not.
It's so good to see you and hear your voice. I know it's been a while since you and I connected.
Indeed.
I'm glad to see that, you know, you are looking great, better, and sounding a lot better.
Yeah, getting there. Now I've just got a wonky hip, but once we get the wonky hip done, we're sorted.
Oh, goodness. Yes. Yes. Is that going to be
I'm
soon?
being AI remodeled,
But in real
digitally
time.
remodeled and physically remodeled. But anyway, what
So
sparked your interest? What made you want to come up? What was the excitement that suddenly got you? Oh, I want to say something. What was it? What was it that
I want to come and
sparked
say
you?
hello to people who I've not spoken to for quite some time, but also just a conversation. I think conversation from children, keeping children safe online, and the AI. When we're speaking about AI, the film I, Robot always comes to mind for me. And if anybody's watched
Yeah.
that film with Will Smith and I, Robot, that is something that plays in my mind when we speak of AI. And don't get me wrong, AI has positives, like anything, there's a negative, there's a positive side to it. But I was listening to one of Stephen Bartlett's, or watching rather, one of Stephen Bartlett's YouTube. So he does the interviews with all of these.
Sorry, of a
I call
CEO.
them, yes, I call them the brain boxes. You know, the global brain boxes that he brings onto his shows. And George Hinton is known as the godfather of AI. He began AI about 40 years ago. And on that show, he says something that's really key, that he who has been so instrumental in developing AI is really concerned about where AI is heading. To the point that when he began this, recently when he began looking at AI in depth and closely, he's asking and urging people to really think about how they use AI. And again, like anything, it is not it's how we use it. So you can create something that could be really positive, and you can create something that can be really negative. So it's who's behind it. And we're laughing about the dating scene in my head. I'm thinking, are we going to get to a point where we're going to have robots and, you know, be girlfriends, be girlfriends and boyfriends, and not have real life. First of all, there are people who don't do humans. You just don't like humans, full stop. Right. So I understand where Calm was coming from when he said at a young age writing about you know, what he wrote about. The reality is there's some people who just don't do humans. So AI is well suited to them. My main concern and the reason I'm up here is because being in front of young people and teaching students, you know, from secondary and above, and I've also taught primary, but I see the impact that AI is having on our young people, our young children, our students, our pupils, whichever name you want to use. And at the moment, it isn't a positive impact, you know, because you get to see on a daily basis, it isn't a positive impact. And that takes me back to what George mentioned in his interview with Stephen Bartlett about his grave concern as to where AI is heading and the dangers that it can become. And it's understanding whether we truly understand the degree of what AI is, because right now we're just scratching the surface. We haven't really delved into what it's capable of doing, and it's evolving every single day, all of the time, you know. So my coming up here to talk about is to really think about the dangers. And I believe that as parents we have to be really mindful and really, you know, pay great attention to what our children are doing, because some parents don't know what is happening, or don't even understand AI. And I would say, as parents, we need to really, you know, get into it and pay attention to it, learn you know, about it ourselves, so that when our children are using these things, we have some opinions, we have some idea as to what they're going to. Like I said, I see this all the time, you know, with students. um and the danger is they don't really fully understand how to properly use AI and how to properly you know, yeah, engage with it. And it does need a lot of education, a lot of careful planning, you know. But that's just my thought for today. Thank you.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's not fear mongering; it's actually logical fear mongering. What we're saying is that unless those parents are aware, unless those parents know what their children are looking at, regardless of whether it's AI or any other, whether it's any other game or any other, like Discord or all these kind of speaking apps and things, they've all got AI behind them. They're all AI driven. They're all AI reasoned, because that's why they're sending the messages through saying you need to buy more of these for your to do this, to enhance your you know, to get the best out of this game, you need to spend more money and buy this or buy that. It's all about being AI driven behind the scenes, whereas we're talking about potentially the relationship side. For me, the part of it that is scary is when I've read about the number of children that have been told not just to kill themselves, but how to do it by these machines, and by having a relationship with these machines and saying how unhappy they are. And so it goes on. And so instead of trying to use emotion to try and cheer the child up and try and say to them, go and talk to someone, go and do this, go and do that, actually it starts to re-engage with it about what it's been talking about. And then they start talking about these suggestions on how they're going to go about doing what they were going to do. And I've seen that, I've heard it, I've spoken to people about it, and in Parliament, as far as MPs are concerned. through Ellen Room, and it's really important to me that that is one aspect of AI that is managed and monitored, and it will be, because all of AI can be and will be. The problem that we have is that nobody is teaching these children about reality. So to me, I just want to bring it to, this is reality, this is the real world, this is the world we live in. I pinch you, it hurts, right? This is the reality, this is the world we live in. That isn't the real world. That is a world that we have created from millions of different people and millions of different people's opinions and biases and whatevers. Black, white, green, purple, every color of the rainbow, and it's a mishmash of everything. Now, let's just take that for what I just said and say to a child, okay, where do you live? Do you live in this world of reality, or do you live in this world of AI? And they would answer right now, I live in the world of reality. In 5 years' time, I'm not so sure. And so, what we need to do is make sure that reality is so much fun and is so important and is so engaging and is so relationship and emotion driven, because that's where all of the love and kindness and all of the good stuff comes from, because AI hasn't become smart enough to give all of that in terms of family and emotion and love. When it does, that's when we're going to have all kinds of odd and strange situations. And, I really, really hope that, the relationship apps that work for people and give them what they need is great. I was going to say something rude, but I know that I've already said more than enough that's rude for this show. But
Okay.
but what I want to say is that it's really, really important for me that we stay away from not explaining the difference between relationships and reality and relationships and AI. Does that make any sense, Christiana?
It does. And one thing I'm going to add to what you just said, Paulette, is this. Let's not forget that humans are the ones that operate AI. Whatever information that comes out of AI has been implemented, has been put in, has been instilled by human beings, right?
Yeah.
Just a few short weeks ago, I was invited to come and contribute to AI when it comes to, because of my legal background, to
Yeah.
come and AI to be able to monitor and to teach AI how to help lawyers, right? So effectively, that would have been for me to be able to talk to AI, to plan everything, and almost like your lesson planning, and you're
Yeah.
teaching AI and you're putting that information into AI, then you're testing it to see that it does what you've asked it to do. So it has to talk back to you. So effectively, humans are the ones that are imparting this knowledge into AI. Now, don't get me wrong, depending on how it is programmed, it then goes down the lane of being super intelligent, more intelligent than those that have programmed it.
Yeah.
That power that it had. That's the thing for me that Judge, I believe his name Hinton, said, that really got me thinking iRobot was not a fantasy. It was something real that's now happening, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
happen. And when he said that these things have the power to be more intelligent than humans that program them, they can almost like, what's what I'm looking for?
Well,
It's almost like a mutation.
Outsmart us. They can
Yes,
outsmart.
outsmart us. They can mutate and outsmart us. So it's that thing. Like, I'm not sure we're ready for that. And the question is, how do we? But we have the guy who was also instrumental in creating ChatGPT, OpenAI. He left that group to go and open a different company to start looking at how the safety measures can put in place to combat AI once it gets to the dangerous part. The next thing to talk about is the danger of AI. We often see things that comes into force or comes into play that are not regulated. As it stands, AI is necessarily unregulated. Hold on, baby. My little, oh, mommy's coming.
How can you
Sorry.
replace not hearing that voice?
It's so
Like, that's
gorgeous, isn't
everything.
it? Yeah.
I'm
Right?
sorry. I know it's not my turn yet, but hearing
so
her laugh every
yeah.
time, that's every. Okay.
Yes. So when you think about it, the other thing we have to think about when it comes to online, and this is what has been the big issue and the big debate, is the regulatory part of whatever is created, especially when it comes to IT, when it comes to advancement of technology. Is it well regulated? And if you can properly regulate AI, perhaps we can see that that becomes part of the safety aspect that we put in. Because when I listen to you talk about, you know, suicide, when I listen to you talk about, you know, AI programming things, it's okay, Baba. Listen to this is what happens when you have a 4-year-old around. So when I listen to, you know, and of course, being in school, I get to talk to a lot of students and get to hear what's happening and get to see what's happening, you know, have knowledge of these different sites, and really having to say to my students, please be mindful, be careful of who or how you alert into these onto these sites, right? Remember that you can be vulnerable on these sites, and please speak to, you know, a trusted adult when you have anyone either tempt you, message you, and so on and so forth. The reality is the regulatory part of it, that one will hope that that will help towards, you know, the safety of our children who are using these AI technology, because that's the part that we haven't quite gotten right. And the fact that we have AI that is still teaching our children about suicide, like I said before, these things are programmed by actual human beings,
Sad.
right?
Really
And
sad.
it's sad that we have human beings that can input that information into AI to then regurgitate what is, and also AI that becomes more intelligent than the human that programmed it to begin with. Now there lies a real danger. So it's a conversation that I am always, you know,
Well,
intrigued.
I'm going to ask you actually, Christiana, right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you to come and be one of the co-speakers. And we'll actually have this is the next mental wellness room, which is next Monday. We'll have the mental wellness cafe. If you can do it on Monday evening, it's 7 till 9ish. We'll try and do that next Monday and have this as the conversation while it's really hot on all of our it's hot in our minds and hot on our heads, and we are, you know, there's a lot of us at the moment are feeling extremely nervous about it, and let's get, you know, calm's very positive about it. Cyrus obviously knows it and is using it, as is any, but we all have to be, we all are, without knowing it, we're all using it. But what I would say is it's not knowing what it's doing and doing for us as opposed to doing to us. And that's the bit that I would like to investigate. So
And
thank
how
you.
we
But
use it
are
very
you
well as
free
well.
Monday?
I should hold on next Monday. I should be,
All right,
child
then we'll
permitting.
send you an invite. We'll send you an invite as being a speaker. And I know Ilana definitely will have to be on there, because Ilana will have lots to say about this, because you are super smart when it comes to this stuff. So come on, talk to us, Mrs. Over to you.
Oh, so am I on?
You are, my lovely.
Okay. So
and looking gorgeous.
no. Oh, and I'm fully dressed. I'm fully dressed.
Yeah, we know.
But when I'm anxious, I always, and actually it's so ironic.
Thank God.
Who just said thank God? Any?
He was worried. You had him worried.
Any?
Calm was concerned.
Oh,
no, calm, not any.
Yeah. Well, some people. Well, I'm not
Calm down.
I'm not calm. I'm very calm. Actually.
Hello, Cyrus.
Hi, Cyrus. Oh, okay.
Hi, everybody. How's it going?
You know what? Bring it on in. Bring it on, New Yorker. Okay, so this is a key thing, actually, which makes me laugh. So when I just now commented about, so I'm wearing let me first do this. My background, so Cristiana, and I love I love what you said, but the most important part for me, and brilliant what you said, was hearing your son laugh and giggle in the background, because that's reality. So I want to bring up, and just so you know, whenever I say something, it's not like facetious or obnoxious or being sarcastic. um, when I give like some type of mindset or accuracy numbers or statistics, because my wackadoo range in working is truly between marketing, doing content, modeling, and working with handicapped kids. So I want to say that there was, for the gentleman who is speaking about, he's happy just having a connection to his AI and his computer. There's a movie called Hers, with Joaquin Phoenix, who played the role as the individual who was basically in love with his computer, because that was all he could relate to by the end of the film. He did not know how to be human anymore. And so I just want to say, when I will say something in terms of like statistics and things like that, I need the accuracy of numbers. So I never overgeneralize and say, well, this is how someone who's emotional would see things, or this is how someone who is visually organized would see things. Because ironically, I don't know how to drive. I born and raised in Manhattan. I don't know how to drive, but my business account has given me an Uber account. Thank God, because I never want to be involved with ever hurting anyone on the road. And that would definitely happen. So if someone said to me, what's the first thought when you see car? I see the front. I don't see the side, because I look for the license plate number and I look to see if the driver has a smile, because I'm not getting in a car. And again, it's a private car, so it's sent out for me. It's not a danger car, but I need to look to see a smile on the face, and I need to look at the front of the car, not the side. So all of us have different ways and different perspectives of how we see things. So I can't give the exact accuracy, but I can tell you that there is not a statistic that fully covers, and it's not, should never be overgeneralized with how people visualize things, especially kiddos. Because as a speech and language pathologist with a PhD or whatever, or working with pragmatic kids, like kids on the spectrum, the key thing in life is also working with tactile touch, um, and that a computer cannot ever give. I mean, they're saying yes in the future, some can be with arms. And again, we don't know what's going to happen in the future regarding that. But I never, ever, ever see AI and computers taking over fully the human race. I will also say that I have two boys, and I'm not the kind of parent who goes, my children are. Um, I call them the brilliant idiots, because they both fall in like the Mensa range, meaning like their IQ is really high up. Um, and both of them have said that when they go into a business meeting, and they have high positions, when they go into a business meeting, it's really important that it's not on computer through an AI. They want to hear it from the voice, because the voice with the intonation and the trust and the feeling and the emotion, that comes through. And you could definitely add different, I'm looking at my computer, like different tones, different voices. Whenever I have to work with a student who doesn't have a voice, we give them a certain device. And that's also incorporating AI. Bottom line to me is that AI is wonderful for certain things, but for people who I know, and in not a statistic, for people who I know who work in marketing, I do so much marketing with AI, but then I put my own words there. I will never have my words corrected by AI, because my words come from my heart. Um, that can't be replaced by words selected by a computer, or words that have been duplicated, or words that have become common on that screen. It's so funny with the AI chat. I had to disconnect it off of my computer on my phone, because every time I asked for an opinion. Should I move back to New York? Should I stay in Florida? Should I move to Atlanta? I don't want to run back to New York right now because of what is happening safety wise. But when I ask a question and I don't agree with it, I immediately take it off. So my mind is still going. So again, between the tone of a voice and between, we all have different cognitive levels. If I was to ask any of my past students, even the 25-year-olds in a correctional site, so I really have come across the board in terms of how I work and trying to work in every industry via remote, but also in person. If I asked any of them, do you relate more to computers and AI or reality? Even the kids who come from different economic backgrounds and different realms, they would first say AI. And I said, so you don't like to like welcome me in with maybe a handshake or like a hug when it's permitted? And you don't like when I maybe bring you a blanket sometimes, or, and they're like, oh, I'm like, well, that's reality. That's the difference. And immediately there's a switch. Also, every student that I've ever worked with, whether it's in a, a difficult environment, like a stressful jail type of environment, because any of the kids here in the US are allowed to receive, even the correctional sites, they're allowed to receive services until the age of 25. To them, you have to earn trust. AI is not going to give you trust. I don't care what tone of voice. And again, I'm not overgeneralizing. So I mean, no disrespect to anyone or everyone, but that I need to hear someone's voice. Like I already love Cristiana. And I'm sorry if I'm saying it with like a Spanish or a French accent. It comes automatically. So so here in sign language. I'm
It's
sorry.
fine.
But I've earned the trust of people who don't think that I would, if I'm working in fashion and I'm wearing designer clothing and I run to see a kiddo who's coming out of some type of a behavioral and site where they've been learning, and they see me, and then they realize, you know what, we have mutual trust for each other. This lady's going to teach me. She cares. She cares. So I've been actually told, and this is not a black white issue, and it's not a blonde dark. This is my diversity of friendships go truly from the melting pot of New York, truly. And I've had a student say to me in the age of 22, you know, Miss Lana, you're the first white lady with blonde hair that we haven't stabbed. And you know what? To me, I was like, I love you. I always say appropriately because you have to this day and age. But I'm like, but I love you too appropriately because we trust each other. It has nothing to do with what you're wearing, but it's just knowing each other. It's getting to hear the tone of trust and care, facts, statistics. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. And we're all different. That's the key thing. So even my kids have said, you know, Ma, when we go to these business meetings, it's so easy for me because I know I'm not going to curse, I know my stuff right away. And I think some of these guys are so used to working on their computers that they're in shock. And I actually impress them more by using my voice and proving my points, why it's so important. And they trust me more. And I said, you know, Sammy and Ben are my kids, that you guys got it. I'm going to add one other thing, having nothing to do with any side of what's going on in the world. So there are hostages and there are people who are suffering all over the world. And I have been called in to help out with sometimes PTSD issues, especially with people who are going through any type of anxiety attacks. My first comment is, after they start to see things and hear things, like keep everything with a low stimulation, just calm, start bringing in the tactile stuff. Because for me, while I'm packing for another city, even though I'm in a sundress, I need to have that touch to keep me in the present. So that's the biggest thing for me. I love AI for certain things. I've met Barbara Corcoran. We discuss it numerous times that sometimes AI is perfect and sometimes things just have to come directly from the heart where it's not the tone of a computer. But you're right. Once people teach computers, they start to teach themselves. And that is very scary. But I don't want that for the human race. I think it would be pragmatically off, meaning socially off. And if someone wants to ever watch, I don't promote any of like the film industry or, but if anyone wants to watch how someone falls in love with a computer and how kind of it can take you to maybe a dark place, that movie Hers is all about that, because Phoenix can't actually really exist without his computer as a person. And that's when he wants to become a person. So I would hate the individual who thought or thinks that he would like to be a person, would like to be a computer, because I'd love to meet him as a person one day, because he sounded kind and I love that. So that's what I have to add, but never overgeneralize and never just use computers to relate to people.
Well, you were so right about the kind bit, because he's the chap that helped me get the books to Uganda. So absolutely, he is kind and wonderful.
Tactile.
And I
Nice,
think that this
nice
is a
to meet
topic.
you.
I can't. So I just want
Alana,
you to
calm,
know,
calm, Alana.
on my thing, I have 40 people, and some are all different in spaces. So I want to say nice to meet you too, and you can always DM me. But I don't know which one you are.
I am. I'm the guy
Calm. It
who used
says
to be
calm in the little box. CALM, calm.
Oh,
My,
calm.
yeah.
That is what this does for me, and that's what my deep breathing does for me. And again, the fact that I'm wearing a fur in Florida,
It's quite funny. But you
and
look
it's
beautiful,
calming.
as
Yeah.
always. But I will
And
say this, we will have this conversation further on Monday. We're going to make this the conversation on Monday, because I think it's so important. And I'm going to call it AI relationships. So that's what we're going to call the room. That's what it will be about. Everybody here will know about it. I'll make sure you're all invited. And it's 7:00 GMT on Monday. And it will literally be just a continuation of this conversation with, without thinking about so much the children, but thinking about how it affects the adults, how it affects you and I and everyone in the room and everyone that we know, and what the good side is, what the bad side is, and what the indifferent side is. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's look at it all through a microscope and try and be as sincere and honest and unbiased as we can be.
Paulette, may I just add, since I'm in
Sure.
marketing, I would give a title to this one, and I would do hashtag or point blank, just stay human.
Well,
That's
thank you very much for that one, Ilana.
thank you.
Remember, I'm the person who keeps on sending you happy birthday notes when you have your birthday on LinkedIn. Or
Oh, I'm
congratulations.
laughing. I tried to
guy with the
avoid my
songs.
birthday. Thank you, Tom.
Well, we'll definitely do that, and we'll invite everyone along, because I think it is a conversation that really, Christiana 100%, Alana 100%, Calm, of course, and Cyrus, because I think Monday's conversation will be about relationships, and I really would like to say that I, for one, love people. I love people. I'm a people lover, and that's, I don't know if that's going to get me a bit like the boobies, but
In the most appropriate way,
in the most
in
appropriate
Banana's way
ways,
of
I
saying
love
it.
And that
people.
makes me
Yes.
cry. See, like that's
And
a real
I just
emotion.
do, and because I love people, that means I always want to please people. I want to make everybody happy. I want to make the world a better place, and I've hopefully brought my son up to go out there and do the same thing. And I would say that we all can do that bit more, and AI will not teach us that. AI will not teach us that. That's
Well,
got
you're
to
Mary
come from the
Poppins.
heart. Right,
You're
Mary
Mary
Poppins. So is that all right with you, Annie? Have I lost you? You've gone a bit.
You lost me.
I've lost. There you are. You're back.
No,
Your
I'm
face
still
is gone.
here, I think. But you can't see
Your
me because my
face
screen,
face is stuck.
my
Yeah.
screen's frozen, so I can't do anything about
Okay.
I
that.
have
Not
9 of
to
you.
worry. We still love you appropriately.
Yes, Latifat says, Paulette, you're right. AI is a tool for human, not a replacement for connection. Indeed, so true, right?
And Christiana, can you kindly have your son singing in the background next Monday? Because it really just
We'll get a little
automatically brings on a
recording of it.
smile.
We'll
Well,
get a
so let me
recording
add
of
that to
it.
the
He's
stage.
living his best life.
He is.
And it goes, I
We're-
just heard him, hurrah!
Hurrah.
Yeah. Well, let's. You've gone 2 hours again. You can't blame me for this one.
Sorry, I
This is
apologize.
you.
We got into a very deep and dark conversation, so
Yeah.
you can't stop when you're flowing like that. You can't stop. It's too good. But I do think that we really can focus on Monday about where does this take us as humans, and where does it take us for the future. And I'm going to do some research over the weekend just to see about these relationship bots, and I will let you know what I find out. I won't start
Please,
one because
please
Charles
do.
will tell me
Please
off.
do.
They've
Please
been coming
do.
around, Paulette, from the 90s, you know, this relationship thing. It's only now that we're talking about it in public, whereas back then it began from, it sounds crazy, Taiwan, China, and somewhere else. So we are just getting this now, but it's been around. It's been around for quite some time.
Oh, right. So it just means that we're a bit up behind the curve on that one.
Thank God.
Thank God.
No, Paulette,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think if we look at it from a broader spectrum, the artificial intelligence, it's been in our kitchens, in our bathrooms, like wherever you keep your washing machine in your house. Basically, a series of instructions in your washing machine telling the system how many rounds to wash, how many rounds to dry, etc., etc. This is when you get the detergent. You know, artificial intelligence has been being used for ages, and I'm not trying to like turn this into an echo chamber, but I agree with some of the things that Ilana mentioned as well, and I found it really fascinating the confrontation between what should how it should be integrated into our lives and how it actually is happening, and that would be a lovely that concept to cover in the next episode,
No, we will.
and how we feel about it is pretty different to how it's happening.
Well, it was really interesting. It's a very quick one. My hairdresser was here, and she was talking to me about a friend of hers who was making these wet or cold oats or something, and you make oats overnight and put fruit in it. And she was telling about this compote thing, and you put it in the fridge, and then the next morning, there it is, this yogurty compote thing full of fruit, and it's lovely. Anyway, when she got home from doing my hair, her AI, which was not, she didn't realize it was AI. She thought it was just something called Alexa that sat in the corner and did things she told it to. Alexa
Yeah.
said, I've put the book in your basket about the how to make the breakfast cereal, the breakfast compote. And she stood there apparently running around the living room screaming, going, how does it know? How does it know? And I
You
said, well,
take
it's
the
quite
hammer.
simple. My Alexa's talking to your Alexa, and that's how it knew. And it was like, oh my God, they're talking to it. What else is it discussing? And what else have we said that it now knows? And I said, everything. It's listening all the time.
Yeah.
And the point is, we didn't even know. We didn't even realize when we put Alexa in.
We must have
Paulette,
known. Now, I know that these tools listen to you, but the retailers was the one to be worried about. But they're the ones listening to you, really.
let me
And they're the ones who are then selling you stuff that now we don't need half the stuff they sell because
imagine
yeah,
this for a moment, if
Hang
you
on a
will.
minute, go on, Christiana.
Imagine this for a second. This is the thought that I've had in my mind from day one when I heard about the self-drive cars. Imagine you have a robot, okay, at home, and you also have a self-drive vehicle, and the two decide to communicate with each other. And one day you happen to say something that both your robot and your robot is offended by, and they are that smart, by the way, becomes offended by, and then they program your car to drive you on the wrong road off the cliff. That was the thing that really did it for me. And when I heard Judge Hinton talking about this on the show and saying how dangerous it can be, we really have to think about, where are we heading to? You know, where do we draw the line when it comes to AI? How
I don't know.
exposed, how vulnerable, how safe are we? Don't get me wrong, there's a positive part, there's a good bit, but how safe are we? And then how safe are our children, both in schools and in our homes, if we decide to move forward with the beautiful AI world?
Mommy, look. I just want you to know, through Tesla, in the past 4 months,
Yes.
the cars that run like the smart cars through that, they've
Yes.
actually been through Tesla. I don't work against Tesla. I feel like there have been actually 22 deadly accidents.
Yes.
So I stick with a driver.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And those are the ones that we're allowed, or we are informed. Let's think about the ones that we are not told about.
Yeah, and we don't know whether the Tesla was given some sort of comment that offended it, so that's why it drove into the other car. One
It was
assumes not.
given
But,
wrong,
you know,
wrong turns.
that sounds like a nightmare that you could write a book about, Christiana. I mean, the thing that, or it's a film there. I think that, you know, Monday will be a very interesting conversation. I hope we can all make
Indeed.
it. And we will definitely go from there. Ennie's had to disappear, or he's disappeared because he's gone back to his mices, or he's got another room. I don't know which. But
Okay.
we can all meet again, resume on Monday. That would be amazing.
Yes.
Thank you for your input, everybody. I appreciate it very much.
Hey, it's back.
Thank you for being back on. Definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you,
See
everyone.
Monday.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Stay
Bye.
human. Stay human.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
I agree. Let's go out to Jack
Right.
Water, shall we? Bye,
Let's do
everyone.
Jack Water. Yay.
Walter, #1 bestseller worldwide. Stories that inspire, becoming every child's guide. She teaches resilience, skill by skill, slowing worries down until they're still. Approaching issues with a stronger mind, building generations one heart at a time. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? What would Walter do? What would Walter do? Not for profit, but for every child's right to handle smaller challenges, to stand and fight. The bigger stuff takes longer, that's okay, but confidence begins with what we do today. Trustworthy souls and integrity shine at Mental Wellness Cafe. She draws the line between drowning in the darkness and finding light. She lifts them up, teaches them to hold on tight. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? To clear your mind, give yourself headspace to think before you let the pressure make your spirit sink. Self-belief and talking to someone you trust, these are the tools that lift us from the dust. She champions the dignity of growing strong. Every child capable, they belong all along. Generations rising with the strength she's built. Paulette's legacy, a world without guilt. From Huntington to hearts across the globe, her compassion is the thread that she has woven and sewed. Adults and children, all walks of life, she's extending her hand through every kind of strife. Understanding, patient with the counselor's soul, making broken spirits feel completely whole. With Charlotte beside her, they both believe that every mind can learn, every heart can achieve. When the storm clouds waltz is gonna be